Scenes like these are a joy to everyone's eyes. Finland's beautiful heritage landscapes feature flowery meadows, grassy pastures and lush grazed woodlands with their rich flora and fauna. These traditional landscapes have been created over the centuries by the interaction between farmers and nature. But such scenes will vanish unless they are continuously worked. Together with old-growth forests, heritage landscapes are the most threatened wildlife habitats in Finland. This scene is reenacted every year on the Jungfruskär Islands in the southwestern archipelago national park. Cattle from other parts of the archipelago are being ferried to their summer pastures, where grazing helps to maintain the island's heritage landscapes. Without regular grazing and other work done on the land, the island's lovely landscapes would soon become overgrown, leaving many rare and endangered species homeless. Centuries of grazing and haymaking have created ideal growing conditions for cowslips and orchids in the calcium-rich soils of the Jungfruskär Islands. Many rare sedges, grasses and other flowers also flourish on these out-of-the-way islands. Recent efforts to re-establish the traditional management of the island's habitats have borne fruit. Colourful elder-flowered orchids have proliferated, with annual counts showing their numbers rising from just a few dozen to almost 2,000. The cattle grazed on the Jungfruskär Islands are privately owned, so local people also benefit from this type of habitat management. Grazing animals also create suitable environments for many birds during the breeding season and the spring and autumn migrations. Lapwings, ringed plovers, wagtails, dunlins and sandpipers all benefit from the open heritage landscapes created along the shores by farmers and their livestock. Grazed grasslands also provide plenty of food to enable starlings to raise their young. These once familiar birds have become much scarcer in recent times. Finland's heritage landscapes also contain many archaeological treasures, including hundreds of prehistoric burial mounds at Harola in western Finland. Cherishing heritage landscapes improves the scenic value of such ancient relics. In many national parks, such as Koli and Linnansaari in eastern Finland, carefully planned burnings are carried out using both modern methods and traditional slash-and-burn practices. Herds of rare landrace livestock and demonstrations of traditional working methods have helped to make these parks significant tourist attractions. A century ago, open heritage landscapes like these covered about 2 million hectares across Finland, almost as much land as is farmed throughout Finland today. But by the 1990s, only 1% of these heritage landscapes remained, less than 20,000 hectares. The aim today is to preserve the last remaining heritage landscapes and also recreate new areas where possible. It will never be possible to recreate all of the lost traditional landscapes. Most of the semi-natural habitats created by grazing cattle in woodland, for instance, have probably vanished forever. This is because so few cattle are put out to graze freely today. Recreating and managing heritage landscapes involves relearning age-old practices. Working to burn a clearing in the forest to grow rye shows how hard people had to work a century ago for their daily bread. Meadows also need to be managed by mowing them every year to stop them becoming overgrown. Meadows in areas with different soils feature different types of grasses and flowers. Their rich flora has developed over centuries of mowing and grazing, and includes plants that need plenty of light and plants that are resistant to trampling. The best way to preserve such botanical treasure troves is to carry on the old practices. The purposeful restoration of meadows recreates suitable conditions to allow plants whose seeds have remained hidden in the ground to thrive once more. Beautiful mountain everlasting flowers and maiden pinks can often magically reappear in this way. Forests formerly cleared by slash-and-burn farmers, but now colonized by picturesque birch glades, provide vital habitat for many birds, including the white-backed woodpecker. These endangered woodpeckers raise their young in nests they excavate themselves in dead trees. Controlled burnings in nature reserves help to reproduce the natural regeneration cycle of the forests. The buildings and structures erected by generations of farmers, such as traditional pole fences, are an integral part of heritage landscapes. In the beginning of the 20th century, Finland's farms and villages were still crisscrossed by millions of kilometers of such fences, but precious few are left today. Making such fences requires special skills, and this dying art is now being revived thanks to the heritage landscape management work done in Finland's national parks. Such work involves local people in close cooperation with the staff of the national parks. The wood used to make pole fences in the Collie National Park is purchased from local landowners. Midsummer is the busiest time of the year for landscape restoration. Tractors clatter around the meadows and scythes cut swathes through the hay. The help of groups of volunteers working together, just like in the old days, is vital. It has been easy to find enough people willing to do such work. coming to work in the old ways together with like-minded people year after year, and finding increasing numbers of beautiful flowers and butterflies in the meadows is a reward in itself. Many meadowland species have become endangered in Finland as their habitats have vanished, just like the species associated with old-growth forests. About 1 in 4 of Finland's threatened species live primarily in traditional farmland habitats. Habitat restoration and management work in protected areas belonging to Europe's Natura 2000 network have been facilitated through EU life funding. Although it is best known for being a land of forests and lakes, Finland is also responsible for the preservation of many of Northern Europe's most valued traditional rural landscapes and their characteristic species. Heritage landscapes can also be restored in towns and cities. In Espoo's Laajalahti Bay, just a few miles west of Helsinki, wetlands in a Natura 2000 site are now grazed every year by landrace cattle and sheep. The prospects for the survival of such local livestock varieties are very closely linked to the active management of heritage landscapes. The traditional farms run in many protected areas around Finland are widely used for education and tourism, as well as the maintenance of traditional rural practices and livestock breeds. Experiencing the hard work of making slash and burn clearings, mowing hay or threshing the rye in the autumn can help us to appreciate today how tough life must have been for our ancestors. Few of us today would even be able to tie up a sheaf of rye unassisted, but an old hand can do the job in a jiffy. The heritage landscapes and traditional farms in Finland's national parks are visited by thousands of people every year, including many school children. Such places can show us how our grandparents lived, while also helping us to understand nature and how Finland's landscapes have come about. The Korteniemi traditional farm in the Liesjärvi National Park is among the most popular traditional farms with visitors. Here the staff of the national park are showing visitors how to thresh rye using a traditional flail.
Kyllä on kuivia. Rushastelee.
Landscapes almost everywhere around Finland bear traces that reveal how people have worked the land and raised their livestock for centuries. By reproducing these old traditions and cherishing this heritage, we can also enrich the natural environment.